Today I'd like to go over some stuff. Ended up searching for cases again, and something particular came up, and it was just as crazy as the other day when I came up with a few days ago, whenever I came up with the video of the boy missing in the Smoky Mountains. I wish this was more, say so, organized with the names and everything, but I gotta go through the whole dumb thing. It ain't, labeled out like first case, second case type thing. So some of them are not into what I am looking into, but others are. And these are more cases leading to creatures being out in the mountain lands. And just like that, with the snap of the finger, these kids literally disappeared. There it is, my ugly puss. But of course, the stories of them makes you sit there and think and wonder once again, what the hell is out there? And these ones are, three of them of these are exactly the same as the Dennis Martin boy, who, like I said, disappeared out in the mountains of Tennessee, as so-called the Colorado Mountains. But a couple of these take place in the actual Colorado Mountains. In Colorado, I mean. And, of course, here we see among the cases of children who have seemingly disappeared off the face of the earth. There are those that stand out as particularly bizarre, right? Insane, I would call it. Because when you got kids that are not even, say so in one case in this article, 50 feet away, and they just, boom, gone. It's like you sit there and just think every day of the rest of your tortured, say so tortured, insanely, mind friggin' boggling, how can I say it? Mind boggling, wondering where that person went, and it will haunt you till the day you friggin' die. That's the sad thing about this. It just makes you wonder, right? And what has came about in these three cases, exactly what I speak of. And I need to look in these up in the mappings. I did screenshot one mountain. Actually, let me show that real quick. And the rest will speak for itself. This one. Chapin Mountain, Colorado. As you can see, the surrounding areas, New Mexico, Utah, all in the ridges in the mountains, as you can see on the map, where skinwalkers dwell. Now, don't even have to be in mountain ridges either, but still, this is close to home to the Skinwalker Ranch. in these articles, I don't care what anybody says, they remind me of this, and that's the bottom line. And now that I've come across these, and like I always need to do is document them, it's bringing my story of what I believe to truth. And these, you really see the truth behind this whole ordeal of what I'm bringing forth with these skinwalkers. Hell, maybe even a Bigfoot, Pukwudgies, all these evil entities that were made by Native Americans. Like I say and say again, to keep sacred grounds out of the hands of travelers. Not travelers, thieves, land stealers. Anything that is done wrong to a Native American sacred ground, it sucks to say, you have to pay the price for it. That's why I say, if you do happen to go to any type of Native American lands, and that includes mountains, regions, if you heard something in my video, think about it and give your fullest respect to that place you're at. I don't think you'll get bothered. Them are my thoughts and theories. And I have rightfully been to the Pukwudgie legend at Wilton, New Hampshire Cemetery. And that town was said to me in a comment, that whole town of Wilton was cursed by Native Americans. In that cemetery I went to, dwellings of Native Americans. Hell, I even mentioned it before. I had a comment of a woman and her husband, I believe, was on the lake around that area. Heard some noises throughout the woods. Big crashing, noises like Bigfoot. Hell, even, like I say, the Skinwalker. And everything that people say that had happened of an experience with Bigfoot, them knocking down, tearing down trees, it's happened to that woman, and she did not know that the cemetery was behind that lake that they were at. I don't know if they were camping on the other side or something, but that lake they were particularly at, and heard all that noise in the background. And when this video came up, somehow she must have been still looking into it and said, I didn't even knew that. And of course, I opened up probably some closure to the situation that she heard and what she endured that night. And it was in the middle of the night, and the woman even said, I'm not the type of person you can scare easily. But she got spooked that night because of whatever the monstrous thing in the woods. So that being said, right into this. So, as we go on to the tendency of some of the stranger vanishings to be those of children, and in many of these cases we find mysterious puzzles that go deep. I mean, I was looking for people, adults and stuff, but this came up. I immediately had to go on it. Something told me, and sure and shit, just like when something tells me, here we have it. This is what brought it to me. And like I say, when I get drawn out of that system of where I'm, right now I'm in a place and state of mind where I'm losing focus on things, bang, something comes up. Brings me right back in, draws me right back in. Advocate for the dead, advocate for anything sacred to the Native Americans. And, of course, often sinister circumstances who are often found in situations that only further service to envelope them in shadows and the specter of the strange. And these stories will show you that what I have been speaking about. These are, and I gotta document it because, like I say, these are the stories that back me up on what I talk about. And we got the first one, 4-year-old Alfred Balehartz was on a fishing and camping trip in the Colorado's Rocky Mountains National Park. As the boy and his parents were taking a hike along a river, which Native Americans lived along rivers, the base of mountains, huge bodies of water, and near pine trees. Always remember that. And as the boy and his parents were taking a hike along the river, little Alfred suddenly simply disappeared without explanation. One moment he had been there, walking in a line behind them, and the next the parents had turned around to find he was gone without a trace. There had been no shout or sign of distress, and all calls to him went unanswered. Seemingly just it took the time to not exist. Although the parents claimed that the boy had gone nowhere near the water now, because obviously you would have heard splashing. If any child would go near a body of water, fall in, I'm for damn sure, or even a river, they're gonna anxiety hit the roof, start screaming, start splashing. But none of this was heard. Immediately went about blocking off the river. So they blocked the river. You know, sometimes bodies will tenderly get caught up and drift into something, maybe trees, broken trees, rocks. Found nothing. 6-mile search. So I'm gonna go on now, because that only speaks of, the dogs sent. The dogs they brought only went up to about 500 feet where his parents had been when that disappeared, which is odd considering he had supposedly gone missing as he is walking behind them. And this is the strange things. The bloodhound followed a trail for some time before reaching a fork and suddenly stopping and simply lying down. Odd behavior for trained scent dogs. The display also strange because it seems that the trail had just abruptly stopped to vanish just as surely as the boy had. That being said, now they claim that skinwalkers can teleport. You know what? Call me crazy. Call the people crazy. But they can teleport. That means if they're running and you see one, of course they say don't look into their eyes, they'll trance you. I mean, they can just disappear like that. Because it's a spirit. And what if this is the case? This is stuff that I have brought forth throughout previous videos, and right here is my proof that this could actually exist. So here we have a boy in a trail and a fork. The trail stops. Dogs lay down. That means the scent has abruptly disappeared. Teleport while that thing is carrying the child. Just like the Dennis Martin. They saw boys resembling the same clothes, everything, blah, blah, blah. The other family saw it slumped over the shoulder of a huge creature. Even more bizarre than this was an odd report that came in from some hikers. Alright? That the search, the very day after Alfred vanished, the hikers were a couple, had been on Old Fall River Road about 6 miles away over rugged terrain and around 3,000 feet higher from where 3,000 feet now higher, where Alfred had disappeared. And at the time no idea that there was a missing boy in the area, yet they reported seeing a rather worrying sight. They claimed they had seen a young boy perched upon a high ridge in an area ominously called the Devil's Nest, which that picture I showed you on the map, that was the Devil's Nest location, near the top of the mountain now. Chaplin, there it is. Now they call it Chaplin. When I looked it up, it said Chapin. So I don't know if they spelled it wrong, but hikers reported that the boy had been formerly sitting alone up there and had suddenly moved out of sight. So here's a little boy sitting on top of a huge ridge, tall, high, friggin' elevated ridge. They said the boy looked distressed, looked worried, and then all of a sudden, you see that? Boom, literally pulled the boy back out of view. There's only one thing that could do that: Skinwalker, or a 10-foot Bigfoot. But in these stories, they claim mountain lions and bears. But you know what? I highly doubt, and I don't even think bears would even climb the top of mountains, because they're always down below looking for food, fish, just searching the area. Why would they want to climb to the top of a ridge where you know damn well there's no mountain food? Mountain lions, I'm sure they do go high top to look down for prey, but I highly doubt they're gonna want to carry their food up on top of a ridge either. Think about it. Why would a mountain lion scurry all the way to the top of a friggin' mountain just to eat? No, they'll bring it to us. They say they do bring it to a secluded place, so other animals won't disturb them. But why to a top of a ridge? Makes no sense. I don't think they do that. Honestly, I'm not a professional hiker, mountaineer, or whatever you want to call them, but I don't think them type of animals, as they claim, they could have done it and brought that way the hell up there. There's no way. No way. I think. But he got jerked back. At the time, they could not figure out how such a young boy would be out there in the remote wilderness by himself, or how he could have possibly climbed up. Now, every one of these kids, they were taking up high ridges, high mountaintops type things. Places where even a normal hiker could not even do. That's the thing about this. Portholes, skinwalkers, whew. And I think they can do this. I think this is what this is in this case. But I'm going to have to pause. I got to do something. I'm going to go on more about this later on to show you the other stories of what they claim, because there is something else that happens to one of these kids. Also, supposedly mountain lion did. But I'll tell you something. Nope. Sorry to keep a person in suspense. I'll tell you right after this important announcement break. Don't watch this thing. I'll be back. No, I'm back. In black. I stink like crap. I'm glad to be... Alright, all serious, enough with the jokes. Getting back to this case, and like I was saying before I had to stop, what another child endured while being out in the mountain regions Jesus Christ. Like I was saying, that these 3 cases I'm going to go through all have similarities to a beast or a creature grabbing a hold of these children. And like I said, what comes next out of this story? This next story, as you can see, we're already... has never been found. Alfred Beilhartz. And hikers mean that he was jerked back. Like I said, something grabbed him. Other than that, we'll lead on to the next story, which is 1992, 12-year-old Kenny Miller went missing. Here we go in another Yosemite National Park, another park. Now be aware of these parks. Like I say, you want to be aware of them when you go there. Give your fullest respects, especially these days, where a lot of the world and the earth is being, surveyed, torn up, and remodeled. You're stirring up the beast. While on a hiking trip along Pacific Crest Trail with his family, he was a disabled boy, a developmentally disabled child. Was last, that right there, let alone like the first kid. What kid is gonna go, damn it, excuse me again, wandering off through rugged terrain, climbing, cliffs, walking through brush, and gonna waste their time to do that is beyond me. It makes you think. Use your brains. So he was throwing pebbles into a creek. Once again, creeks, brooks, rivers, let alone any waterway, huge waterway. Oh, man, interruptions. Throwing the rocks. A creek in an area called Meadows. Now, like I said, I haven't even went mapping out on this. I did one mapping I showed you in Colorado. I believe, I want to say Yosemite's, maybe in like upstate Washington. The next story after this one, I believe, is another Colorado one. But once again, national parks, waterways, Native American dwellings. You always remember that. And minutes before, the parents' sight for just been out of his parents' sights just for a few minutes. So say a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes turn. One of them ordeals, 4 minutes go by and turn, and the kid's gone. An intensive search, unable to locate any trace of the boy or where he had gone off. A month later, some hikers discovered Kenny's body in Carson Pass area west of Meadows. The body was found on a soaring ridge in treacherous, rocky, brush-choked terrain. One can just imagine what that looks like. And it was 1,500 feet higher than where he had mysteriously gone. That means his body went upward. Upward. And it was unclear how the mentally challenged boy, who reportedly had the mental capability, of a 4-year-old. So here he is 12 and he thinks like a 4 or 5-year-old. Had been able to get there on his own. The cause of death was thought to be exposure, but it was unclear just what had happened. David Paulides has also related the strange case of a 2-year-old boy who went missing near a Malta National Forest in Oregon. Here's another boy. Although the boy was found 19 hours later, he was not dead or nothing. He was discovered in an area 12 miles away through rough mountainous terrain again, upward, rocky ledges. Imagine it. Which would have been difficult for an adult and impossible for such a young child. 2 years old, climbing and not falling anywhere, slipping, losing his grip. In that amount of time, 19 hours. But yet he was up in the high elevated with rocky terrain, crazy looking area. Equally weird is another case recounted by, this I believe is a guy who does all this research, and I guess Paulides, in which an unnamed 7-year-old boy vanished in front of his home in Arizona. Now Arizona, once again, close to Utah. I mean, they were unable to pick up any scent trail for the boy, and aerial search turned up nothing. He was eventually located 2 days later, dazed and wandering about out in the desert 20 miles from where he had gone missing. Oddly, the boy was remarkably good condition considering he had no water, yet was not dehydrated and showed no signs of negative effects from exposure. Even though nighttime temperatures had dropped to below freezing, it was uncertain just how the boy had disappeared, how he had covered so much distance over harsh terrain while managing to remain in such good health, or how he managed to not even leave scent for hounds to follow, be detected in aerial searches. It would remain an enigma. That only leads to one thing if you think about it. These kids had been picked up by a creature 7 to 10 feet tall. You're gonna lose scent because their bodies ain't on that ground, and these creatures can travel long distances. When they're fully formed, they haul ass. They can massively climb high terrains. It might sound crazy insane, but you think about it, and these creatures are fucking real. I don't care what anybody says. And for these two boys to be, this boy to be lucky for his life spared, something might have just been inside him, not doing nothing to the Native American land, and he might have just been dropped, push, and left. But these portholes, these things, but if they feel that there's something, the spirit feels something, intend a need to do something, they will do it. Another case of a child turning up in an unusual place, in the case of 5-year-old Stephen McCarran, who September 1988 was visiting his aunt and uncle's home in Ayr, Scotland. I don't know, top got off. What was this? I don't think this was nothing. A moment, yet the boy managed to vanish from sight making a sound, thinking the young Stephen had simply wandered off. The parents did a search in the area, calling out his name, panicked, notified park security, also neighborly got a missing boy. Now, what was this? From a missing child in Scotland's history, hundreds of searches, 6 squares, including drives, combing the rivers, ponds, aircraft. Found he had simply vanished without a trace. He was not found. This one I think someone might have kidnapped the boy, because he was happened to be seen. Yeah, be kidnapped. I think that might have been like a kidnapping, and that one could have been a kidnap. The body was found. No signs of violence, injury, or foul play. It seemed assumed that the... Well, then again, out there in Scotland, they got the shook, I believe. The black shook out in England. But Scotland is rightfully around England, I believe. So the black shook could rightfully be out there too, which I think is pretty much a skinwalker too. And because there was something I did in an article of a Native American at a place that always wanted to be out in the sea. Or some man wanted to be out there and then he died or something, or disappeared. And rightfully he took on to the sea to travel through teleports, I believe, and could have made it to England, Scotland to become the Black Shook. Something I read. I did do a video on that. Oh, this was something. This is what was weird about this one, though, too, that full 6 miles from where he had gone missing, oddly, when the body was found, his socks were stuffed in his back pocket while his shoes were still on. Why would a boy even do that? Take his shoes off, put his socks in his back? That was something odd, too. He didn't even know how to tie his or even put on his shoes, I guess, but something dumped him there. You never know. Black Shook, like I said, or whatever that creature is out there. But I wanted to get on to another one, 3-year-old, October 1990. Let me check this out real quick. Canyon, Colorado. Here we go. The Powdery Canyon. Jared was out with 12 of his Christian group members on a hike along Big South Trail when he somehow got ahead of the group and talked to some fishermen along the Padre River, asking them if they've seen any bears, to which they replied that the boy should go back with the others. Those fishermen would be the last ones to see Jared alive in the wake of his disappearance. A massive search, bloodhounds, aircraft, largely assumed that he had fallen into the frigid waters. Yeah. But on this kid, Jared, they figured he might have been in frigid waters in the river and drowned. It would not be until 4 years later that he would finally be found, when on June 4, 2003, his remains were discovered up in a remote, inaccessible area, up a steep incline, up again 500 feet above the trail he had vanished on. This is where the case gets weird. On the dead boy's cranium were found a series of odd scratches that were assumed to be from a mountain lion. Yet big cat experts pointed out that a cougar would have torn at the sweater and body near the neck and stomach. Damage that was absent. Indeed, there were no other apparent injuries on the body. And this Paulides also claims that he spoke to forensics experts on the case, who told him that although the source of the scratches could not be determined, they were not from any known animal. Other odd details about the body were that the boy's clothes had been turned inside out. A single tooth from his mouth had been found placed upon a nearby log, strangely not overgrown the moss or vegetating, considering that it had presumably been sitting there for 4 years. So this, and it's like, wow, this kid was preserved with stuff. Clothes preserved, colored and not looking, supposedly haven't been out in the elements for so long. So whatever it may be, whether it is in the claws, that means this thing stuck its claws in him to carry him. That's what I'm talking about, these beasts. Unknown animal. And I rest my case here. So what does move beyond the portholes and the dimensions throughout this world? What lives beneath us? What lives in the mountains? What lives among us is what's out there. And what I think it to be is what I've been saying all along. And I don't have to repeat myself on that. This, to me, is proof of what I've been covering in the past, since my journey started on the Skinwalkers. That's right, these beasts, even Bigfoot, Puckwudgies, whatever the case may be, these creatures are being known. And I say to this is what's making my thoughts and theories proven. These stories right here. And I'll stop it right there for this weird stuff they do. Taking a tooth out, put it over there, close inside out. What if these skinwalkers, the skinwalker dragged them through one of them portholes, and because of the whatever they do to go through the transport, I mean, I think they even had that in a movie, doing, traveling back in time, transporting something, and something ended up backwards. Clothing. Crazy, isn't it? And I forgot what movie that was in. It just randomly twists something around. And that's what makes me think that there's something out there that we don't know about. And that's right, even if it's a friggin' alien creature coming around grabbing and snatching, but whatever the case may be, there's something out there, and it's waiting for everyone. And this happened, and like I said, this was in 2003. So most rightfully there, people. Most rightfully. Be safe, take care, always beware of your surroundings, and you better stop believing. Because what I say, I believe, is coming alive. And I'm finally finding stuff for my proof. And mind you, everything I find is after the fact. After the fact. This is all after the fact. My videos are up with date, times when I put them up, and how I've been thinking. I only find stuff when it pops up randomly. Out.